Greetings. Hello. A very pleasant good evening to all of you, and welcome to our wonderful webinar, Armchair Travel, that we're doing these days. And it's a Monday evening, and a good Monday evening it is. And tonight we're going to be doing something kind of unique in that we're going to be focusing on wine cruises. So two good things, wine and cruising, and river cruising on top of that in Europe. And so a very, again, pleasant welcome to you all. And I want to do a couple quick introductions and then some housekeeping items, and then we'll jump in. The person responsible tonight for having this webinar is Lori McDonald. You want to say hi, Lori?
Cheers. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. So excited to have you here tonight to talk about two of my favorite things, river cruising and wine.
Right on. Right on, right on. And I'll also introduce a person from our corporate headquarters in Southern California who is the person that oversees all of our wine cruises. And it's a big, big deal because it's part of the DNA of our company. And she does a fantastic job of it. And she'll be talking a lot in this presentation because wine is her world at AmaWaterways, and that is Liz Barrett. Welcome, Liz.
Cheers.
Yes. We'll have an
and apologies ahead of time. I have a dog here, so if you hear barking, I'll mute.
Yeah.
We all have pets. Yeah.
We have a puppy too that's 18 weeks old tomorrow, and she barks, but she's downstairs. So hopefully she'll remain downstairs. But every once in a while, people poke their heads in, like my wife just did, so grab the mail. Anyway, so I'm Brian Rademacher. I'm the sales guy. I'm in Petaluma in Sonoma County, so in wine country, and I represent the company for Northern California and Northern Nevada. So couple housekeeping items. One is there's a chat box or a question box there for you. So feel free during the webinar to type in your questions, and then we'll look to address those later on. And just feel free to use that at your leisure. Usually best to type them in when you think of it. Frankly, that's what I've found is best practice. And then the other thing is we are recording this right now. So this will be sent to Lori, and she'll send it out to you all, and feel free to share it with your friends and family and wine lovers, etc., because hopefully they'll also find this of interest. So without further ado, then I think we'll jump in, and there are Liz and I when we got spiffed up and dressed up and whatnot. And this is indeed a celebration of wine cruises with us, AmaWaterways. And again, thank you so much to Lori McDonald, who owns Cruise Planners, as you know, and we're very appreciative of her ongoing support, because actually this is a series of webinars that we're doing, which we'll talk about. So thank you very much, Lori. So appreciative. And there again, thank you in many languages that we have there. And speaking of a series of webinars, we have another one coming up not too far down the road on December 10. Not sure what day of the week that is. I have to look at my calendar, which I'm not going to be able to do. So what day of the week? Anyone would care to throw?
Thursday.
Thursday?
Thursday, yeah.
Okay, Thursday.
Next
Cool.
Thursday, week from this Thursday.
Yeah, coming up next Thursday. And this will be a dive into another really unique and special thing that we do, which are Christmas market cruises. And this one will be focused on the magical Christmas markets on the Danube. And it'll be same time, 5 to 6 p.m. So Lori will get those invitations out, I'm sure. And we'll be talking about a departure, actually, that Lori has set up, a special departure that she'll be looking to host. And it isn't until 2022, which is down the road. But you know what? The books are open for 22, and we're booking quite well into that year. So we'll talk about that. So this is an image that we always present because it is so, it's the old pictures are worth 1,000 words. It is so evocative of what river cruising really is all about. And that is indeed oceans, again, take you to the countries, but rivers take you through them. We like to say we go to the heart of Europe through sort of the veins of Europe, using the physical aspects of a body, which is absolutely true, because these rivers, the Rhine, the Danube, and many others, the towns and villages and cities that emanated from these rivers are the places that you visit and are just simply wonderful. And it's just an absolutely fabulous way to travel throughout Europe We go other places as well. You're always within a given country's boundaries. Again, it's such an easy way to travel Europe that you literally double your leisure time when you are on the river. And river cruising pre-COVID was very, very hot. Post-COVID, we feel it's going to be the same. I love this quote by Michael Palin of Monty Python fame, because it talks about a bug bite. Once the travel bug bites, there is no known antidote, and I know that I shall be happily infected until the end of my life. So there's a bug out there that none of us want to have anything to do with, but I think we can all admit that this bug is one that we've all been bitten by, and we are ready to scratch that itch and get back out there. And it's going to happen because, of course, we see all the good news from the pharmaceutical companies and the vaccines that are coming, and so that's very, very hopeful news indeed. So we are family owned and operated for the last 18 years, since 2002. The married couple on the left is Rudy Schreiner and his wife, Christine Karst. They, again, run the company along with Gary Murphy on the right. And I say a few things about them. One, they are wonderful people to begin with, number one, just the nicest folks you'll ever meet. But they're also very passionate about the product. And we're simply a river cruise product. We don't have sort of disparate arms of the company. This is what we focus on and only focus on river cruising. And also, they're very prudent as well. And I'll get to that here momentarily as what I mean by being very prudent as well. But again, truly excellent people to work for, and they run a really tight ship. And Liz and I agree that we're happy to be at AmaWaterways. Now, if you've not been on a river cruise, or even if you have, these are some of the salient aspects, bullet points, if you will. I won't read those to you, but these are all things that river cruising offers, and why river cruising, again, pre-COVID was really hot, and again, for the same reasons, will remain so. And we're going to see that all the talking heads out there in the travel industry are saying that river cruising, and of course, we're tending to believe it too, because we're seeing it in the bookings, but that river cruising is going to be one of the first aspects of travel that bounces back quickly. And part of it has to do with this word intimate. We use that word intimate a lot because it relates to the smaller ships. So our ships average around 150 some odd guests, right? And so there's no crowds or long lines. You always dock right in the center of town. There's no seasickness as well. That's kind of nice. So these things all count. Very immersive experience. We don't say the ship is the destination. We say that Europe and an immersion in the local European culture will be what you're going to experience, but you're going to be on a beautiful ship as well. It's also a very inclusive experience too. And again, here are all the marketing truths or brand truths that we, AmaWaterways, bring to the table for you that you can see there. Again, I won't read the slide to you, but these are all things that we are very, very proud that we do offer you as guests on our ships when you come and cruise with us. All very, very important. Now, these two here in the middle, we've added recently for obvious reasons, which we talk about the fact that we do practice the highest level of hygiene and cleanliness. Now, frankly, ladies and gentlemen, that's something we've always done, but now we talk about it more for obvious reasons, right? And in the current environment. But again, something we've always focused on. And then I mentioned the word prudence earlier on as far as our owners. Well, this then factors in here. That's the financial stability. And the reason I say prudent is because all of our ships are paid for, including the 3 new ships that are coming next year have been paid for up front. That is, I tell you what, a very prudent way to run a company is to pay as you go. I can honestly say I wish my life ran that way. I'm going to be totally transparent and say I'm not that way, but I certainly could take a page out of our ownership's book, if you will, in terms of the way they've run our company. So we are here for the long haul. We're very financially stable, so that's something you should know as well. All right, going forward here. Now, you might say, how could you have just done a successful European season? Well, we just completed it. We started cruising in early July on the Rhine River, and we just completed our season. Again, the reason is that the Ama Christina was chartered by a European, actually German tour operator, very well-known German tour operator, not known in this country per se, but they did 5-night Rhine River cruises, north and southbound, out of Cologne. So obviously a very good thing for us because there were 58 river ships operating on the rivers in Europe. We were the only North American brand operating on the rivers in Europe. So good for us experientially. That is incredibly valuable for us to have been in the game, as it were. That's the terminology I like to use, in the game, rather than on the sidelines and having to hear anecdotally the stories of, well, how did it go? Well, no, we actually participated, and that becomes, again, invaluable experience as we move into next year. Now, when we start cruising next year, we don't know, but one thing we do know is that whatever things are in place as it relates to health and hygiene and protocols and that kind of thing that we practiced this past summer, if many of those are carried over or not or whatnot, the fact that we did participate, I think, will prove invaluable. So, and fortunately, knock wood, we had no cases of COVID during the 4.5 months that we were cruising. And so we're, proud of that fact as well. Now, if you want to know more about this whole topic, you can go to this website, amawaterways.com/travel-updates. And there it'll be cashed out for you in writing and more specifics that you can read about there. And obviously important for you if you want to know what we have been doing and looking forward to doing in the future. Also, we have this Travel Waiver Plus I'll mention. You all should have travel insurance. That's a no-brainer in this current environment. Always have travel insurance. This is sort of the icing on the cake in that it offers you what would have been penalties that you would have incurred for canceling for any reason whatsoever. It'll give it to you back in a future cruise credit, good for 2 years. And this is something that you can cancel for any reason up to 24 hours prior to the start of the services, and you can purchase it up to 48 hours prior to the start of the trip. Now, we have heard internally and anecdotally that this program may not be in place for a lot longer. We'll have to see, and I'm not just throwing that out to say, oh, you better buy it. Absolutely not. It's been around for quite a long time, and we've sold a lot of it because it does offer peace of mind. But as it says down here, limited time provision can be revoked at any time. So just want to make, forewarned is forearmed. So highly recommend with Lori that you talk about not only travel insurance, but with us anyway, the potential of looking at this Travel Waiver Plus and giving yourself any, you can cancel for any reason up to 24 hours prior. So this is our world, primarily Europe, as you can see, which is what we're going to be talking about tonight. But we're also on the Nile starting next year in September. We're also on the Mekong in Vietnam and Cambodia. And we're here in the Chobe River between Namibia and Botswana. So those are our exotic destinations. But as I say, we primarily focus here in Europe. The length and breadth of Europe is where we do our thing. All right, so now I'm going to show a little video here. Bear with me as I do that. All right, so this is a little video that has Liz in it, actually. So here we go. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Liz Barrett, and I am a certified specialist of wine, and I am AmaWaterways wine expert who helped to put all of this wonderful experience together for you this week. And you are in for a treat. You're on a ship with some of the best crew, so get to know them. And we've added a lot of wine excursions onto the normal spectacular itinerary. You're going to be traveling into different wine regions. You're going to be going to wineries where you get to meet some of the family members, some of the wine cellars. You're going to have expert guides who are going to be able to tell you all about old world wines, the different varietals, some of which you've probably never heard of in North America, the different processes, many of which are regulated by the government, and you're going to be tasting some of these fun wines, getting to know the different scents, which are very, very different from our North American wines. And because of that, we also have a very special treat for you. We brought a wine host on board to celebrate this celebration of wine cruise with you. This wine host is from North America. They speak your language, they understand your palate probably better than you do, because it's probably evolved from understanding big, fruit-forward, wonderful North American wines, but they're very, very different from Old World style. So your wine host is going to be the glue that takes you between Old World and New World, and you get to do this side by side. And that is what sets AmaWaterways apart, because we want to give you an entire comprehensive view of the world of wine. Not only what you're traveling through, but what you'll return home to, and make it all part of a global view of wine. So now that you've had a little taste, we're going to treat you every single night with wonderful wines from the region. But one special night, you're going to have a gorgeous wine paired dinner where we highlight your winehouse wines. They're going to tell you all about it, visit your tables to ask questions, make sure everyone's having a wonderful time. And with that, I think it's time that you start enjoying your wonderful celebration of wine cruise with AmaWaterways.
All right. So Liz, would you please talk a little bit about your past history with Ama and sort of what you do with us?
Absolutely. Well, I am a certified specialist of wine, which basically says I am a professional wino, and I know a lot about wine, and it's just fun. That's one of the things, as you can tell from the pictures below, these are all just fun times with friends. The middle one is one of my favorites, with a bunch of girlfriends in Rudesheim, Germany. We're just going to take you on a little trip, because if you do love wine, or even you have friends that love wine, AmaWaterways has created amazing experiences that take you into another level of immersion into the culture, because wine, food, all of that is a massive part of the European culture. And we do that on a wine cruise. It's so much fun. So join us. Let's go. And actually, Lori and I have been on a wine cruise together on the Danube, where we went on Christmas markets. It's crazy. Yeah, we've done it all.
All right. So actually, thank you, Liz. And actually, when you look at the map of Europe, it's easier to say where you're really not able to do a wine cruise, which is pretty much Belgium and the Netherlands, although they may have vineyards that I've not heard of, but nonetheless, they're more sort of beer country, frankly. But pretty much everywhere else on that map of Europe that you see there, and all of these different itineraries, and that's a lot of different itineraries, we do our what we call celebration of wine cruises. So there's a whole bunch to choose from. I think in a given year, 60 to 70, right, Liz?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's because it's become so popular.
Right.
We started with, one or two back 10 years ago, and it's just grown exponentially again, because there's so much fun, and it's a bonus. It's actually, we take a normal itinerary and add wonderful wine excursions into that. So you cannot beat it.
Right. And speaking of that, to accentuate, what Liz is saying, when guests fill out the surveys, post-cruise, whether they do it electronically or pencil and paper, whatever it might be, these celebration of wine cruises actually score the highest in terms of our guest satisfaction levels, right? People absolutely love, they're predisposed to certainly enjoy their cruise, but then they're on the cruise where it's a focus on these wonderful European wines, but as Liz said, in education with old and new world wine. Anyway, all of that comes together to where people just absolutely love it and give us very, very high ratings. And so as you look at the maps here and you see, Cognac and Medoc and Sauternes in Bordeaux, or the Côte du Rhône, Châteauneuf-du-Pape, Provence. I mean, these names are iconic, obviously, in the wine world, and these are places and then that you're going to be able to experience. And some of these places, say, along the Danube, that you may not be aware of in terms of the wine productions there, we're going to talk about this evening as well. But pretty much everywhere we go, as I say. So we're going to have a little toast, so hopefully you have a little bit of wine. So I have a very little bit left. So we say a toast to all of you, to Lori, Liz, to you, all again of our attendees, and to these celebration of wine cruises. We say cheers. Have a
Prost.
Prost.
Yes.
Salute. My wife in Poland, she says Nostrovia.
Gesundheit. Yes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, all right. Now, little quick fun fact: what country has the highest per capita consumption of sparkling wine in the world? And this is enjoyed in the country at every occasion. and also commonly served as an aperitif. And this was one I didn't know. You might think immediately of other places, but the answer is yes. And what is that sparkling wine, Liz?
It's called Sekt. And we have that in Austria and Germany. And so if you're on the Danube, on the Rhine, you're going to enjoy this wonderful sparkling wine that, again, is hard to find here. I think you can find it at Total Wine & More, maybe Bevmo. I would encourage you to grab a bottle and try it because it's just slightly different than our normal sparkling California, champagne, all of that. But they drink it there. So that's why we don't have that much here.
Yeah, celebrating. Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, and I think, Lori, I think this might be your backdrop, right? I think you have that.
Yes,
So,
I actually borrowed it from AmaWaterways because I love the background.
good deal. Fantastic. Thank you for doing that. So this happens to be the Amacello, and we like this Berlitz rating. Berlitz, along with Frommers and Foders, you know, sort of those three well known for their review of travel. And in this case, Berlitz rates our European river cruise ships as the best. So we're happy about that.
Yay.
Yay. And then again, I love this quote: drinking good wine with good food and good company is one of life's most civilized pleasures. That is for sure. And I think what I want to have Liz mention here is that you don't have to be, you know, sort of a connoisseur, because I'm certainly not. This is right for wine lovers of all levels.
Absolutely. You will find that a wine expert will have a wonderful time on board a wine cruise. But I would say the most people that join us are people that just love wine. And you don't have to know that much about it except I really like white wine or I really like red wine, because as soon as you set foot on board, you start learning and start enjoying. And we have so many things that we've added to it, including, and we'll go into this, a wine host on board from North America who's going to help you understand the differences between what our palate is actually used to. Like my palate, this is a California wine. It's so different from European. So when you're on board a wine cruise, normal itinerary, wonderful excursions, so you're not going to miss any of the city trips, the hikes, the bikes, all of that stuff. In addition to that, we have wine tastings on board where you're in the main lounge and gathering with everyone, and our crew supports this in a beautiful way, almost like a dance. And our wine host will talk to you about old world, new world, all the nuances, what to expect when you're on the cruise for the next week. We go on wine-themed excursions every single day. It's incredible. And then the wine hosts that's brought on board, they have brought a great number of their own following who already love them, love their wine, and we have purchased and shipped a bunch of their wine on board. But it's in addition to the European wines that you're going to have from the region. Every single night at dinner on a AmaWaterways cruise, not just a wine cruise, but on a AmaWaterways cruise, you get to try the different wines that are from the region as you're traveling through it. So this is, as I said, a total immersion, and you don't even realize it's happening. It's so much fun.
Right. Yes, indeed. And culinary wise too, because obviously, you know, you're going to be enjoying excellent wine, but you're going to dine well too when you're on board, right? And so this just highlights, go ahead, Liz.
No, I was just saying that's, again, it's culinary, it's wine. This is Europe. This is the richness of Europe. Makes me so happy.
Yes, I mean, without equivocation, it all blends together just seamlessly. It's so terrific. So this highlights, again, some of the things you'll experience as it relates to dining on board. One of the things I always like to point out here is fresh and locally sourced. So we like to jokingly, albeit it's absolutely true, having asked several times to get it confirmed, that we have freezers on our ships just for ice cream. So everything else is fresh and locally sourced, which is absolutely true. Part and parcel a little bit as it relates to cruising this summer with COVID and all, we have expanded our room service menu because people are finding they may want to dine more on their balcony cabins, that kind of thing. all dietary needs met, always available choices. Anyway, this chaîne de restaurant, suffice it to say, we were invited to become members of chaîne de restaurant, which means the goose cookers in French. But the fact is that if you're invited to join that gastronomic society, you offer the absolute ultimate experience in dining, as well as wine, as well as service. So we're very proud of that designation. We do talk about that. There are those balconies. These, frankly, are our most popular accommodations on our ships, and they're known as twin balcony because here you have a traditional balcony, a couple of chairs and a table, and a French balcony. You have both, actually, right? And now with people, again, more interested in lots of fresh air, the balcony accommodations always popular, or even more so. And so these tend to book early. And then just sort of the living room, if you will, kind of give you an aesthetic feel of the ship. This is the panoramic lounge and bar area, of course, as well, which is a gathering place, if you will, for listening to cruise managers give their talks about what's upcoming in the cruise. We do a cocktail hour every evening before dinner here as well. You can also be out on our sun deck. We have pools on board, which, by the way, bring your trunks at any time of year, even at Christmas markets, because we heat the pools. So you can always bring your trunks along, and that's a nice feature. And there's a little swim up bar there as well. Part and parcel of Christine Karst, one of our co-founders and owners, we brought forth the sort of what it says here, enhance your best self. In other words, we do have wellness programs on board with a dedicated and certified wellness host that are just there for wellness. They're not, say, waiting tables in this dining room in the evening and they happen to run the yoga class in the afternoon. No, they're strictly there for your wellness, and they do a wonderful job, and they're on our ships there in Europe. And then the other nice thing too is that the excursions are included, number one. Number two is, I like to jokingly say, we've always practiced social distancing on our shore excursions. You might say, why is that? Well, it is because we divide the complement of ship's guests into different pace levels, from gentle to regular to active. And what that does is then it breaks the ship up into smaller complements of guests, even late risers, right? And so you're never really out with more than, say, a group of about 20 people. And you can practice even further social distancing because you have the audio box, right? So you don't have to be right up close to the guide. You can always hear what the guide is saying with these, again, audio boxes. We do have onboard bicycles that are very popular, 25 per ship. You can take them out on your own, or you can go out as part of a guided tour, and there's always a guide at the front and a guide at the rear for the fastest and slowest riders. So wonderful way that we do our off-ship events. But then again, hearkening back, as we are talking tonight about the magic of these celebration of wine cruises, you're going to visit these wonderful vineyards and do cellar tours and have authentic encounters at these wineries in Europe. And I'll have another little video I'm going to show right now. Bear with me as I pull that up. Let's see here. I'm going to show Uwe, one of our cruise managers.
Oh, I love Uwe.
Yeah.
Hello, this is Uwe, AmaWaterways cruise manager, and I would like to invite you to the place where I live in Austria to cruise the beautiful Danube. And once cruising in Austria, you will inevitably come past the beautiful Wachau Valley with its terraced vineyards, and a stunning and iconic grape variety grown there is the Grüner Veltliner, which the Austrians like to enjoy crisp and fresh, and it's truly delicious. But once continuing further to Vienna, you will be enticed by another variety, the so-called Gemischter Satz. The Gemischter Satz is, unlike the Cuvée, a mix from different grapes of the same vineyard, and a true specialty that is best enjoyed at the Heurigen Tavern in Vienna, where it's really cozy and lively and a lot of fun. So ladies and gentlemen, come in celebration of wine to cruise in Austria. And there's a lot left in the bottles for you, so cheers!
All right. Uwe, and he's also extremely tall. Yes.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's like 6'7", I think.
Yes. So he can, that's a lot of wine to drink for a 6'7" person. So this is one of the most popular itineraries, obviously, is the Danube, the romantic Danube. It's a cruise between Wilshafen, Germany, or Budapest, or the reverse. And yes, the wine experiences here, as Uwe was talking about, are quite nice indeed. And I'll let Liz kind of weigh in here on this incredible Wachau Valley, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and also offers some wonderful wine experiences.
Well, and it's such a surprise because you always think of France or the Douro, but I have to tell you, the Wachau Valley has so many things to enjoy. The Grüner Veltliner that Uwe was speaking about, Gemistersatz, is unique. And I think they do that in Portugal as well, where they vineyard, they will plant different grapes in one vineyard, and then they mix all of those different varietals together in one particular wine. So it's very different from like a Bordeaux blend. It's actually from the same vineyard. It's amazing. Only in Vienna. So some of the wines, the Grüner Veltliner is actually one of my favorite wines now. Blaufränkisch, I have to tell you, is one of Christine's favorites. It's a really nice, rich red wine. Pinot Noir, which in Germany, they call it Spätburgunder. And that's Spät means late. Burgunder is Burgundy, because the red wine in Burgundy is Pinot Noir. And they're wonderful. So on a wine cruise, you'll get to try these side by side with perhaps if we have a wine host from Oregon or from Russian River Valley in California, their Pinot Noirs. That part is really fun. The excursions that you go on to are most of the time family owned. You get to go up into their little homes and taste their recent wines. You get to purchase them if you want to. Bring them back on board the ship, because we do not have a corkage fee. We encourage you, if you're out in the village, in the town, buy the wine and bring it back on board the ship or bring it home. It's so much fun.
Indeed. Thank you for that, Liz. And Weißenkirchen, this is one of these little villages, yes. And
well, that's what I was talking about with, we actually dock right here. And this is one of those, for the wine excursions, you actually walk up into the village and we're split up into 3 or 4 different groups. Again, smaller groups, which we've always done. And these are to family-owned wineries. And then you just come back on board the ship with your wine. Enjoy.
There you go. And then Budapest is a popular turnaround point. A lot of the cruises, of course, begin or end here. And you do, by the way, have opportunities to do pre or post stays here in Budapest and other places as well. And then Uwe mentioned this, you have to say it because I don't say it very well, but
Heuriger.
Yeah. And this occurs in Austria, right? He mentioned Vienna, or you mentioned
Vienna. And it's 2 different meanings of this word. And one is new wine, the new wine, kind of like a Beaujolais, but this is the new wine. And then it's also a wine tavern. So when you're on a wine cruise in Vienna, you're taken to a wine tavern where the locals go. That to me is the best part of AmaWaterways excursions. We always try to make sure that it's not the touristy, places. This is where the people in Vienna actually go to enjoy fun wines and the local gossip.
There you go. And speaking of Vienna, which is near and dear to Rudy Schreiner, our owner, one of our co-owners, I should say, because this is his hometown along the Danube River here in Vienna, which is always ranked as one of the most livable cities in the world, especially in the last few years. I always send those surveys to Rudy and I say, Rudy, look at Vienna always scoring so well. He said, I know I'm in LA, I should be in Vienna, but Vienna is quite wonderful indeed. And then this is an interesting Europe's rivers and castles, this particular itinerary as well, as you get to visit the Moselle River, which now this area on the Moselle, I think, Liz, right, is the oldest growing wine region in Europe, is on the Moselle, or Mosel, as the Germans say. And one of the highlights here, right, is here in, I think it's Zell, or in this particular area?
Yes, on our wine cruises, if you do Europe's Rivers and Castles, which I actually did last fall in 2019, I was the wine host, and
All right.
we travel through Würzburg through the Franken region, which is amazing wine, Sylvaner, Müller-Thurgau, and then you get to go along the Rhine, and then you head down the Mosel. And the Rieslings are probably the most celebrated Rieslings in Europe, world class. They are grown on the steepest vineyards in Europe. So as you're traveling along this beautiful river, you're looking up at these extremely steep hillsides, and you can actually see the people up there almost hanging off the side of the cliff because you can't get machines up there. So it's always this wonderful combination of centuries old traditions, family owned wineries, and then some cutting edge processes. But in Zell, oh my goodness, this was so much fun. We do a very special wine festival, and it's the whole city of Zell, and they only do this for AmaWaterways. It is extraordinary. There's so many pieces to this. The one I will tell you about that just blew me away was in the evening, we heard music outside the ship. This was after dinner. We were all in the main lounge, and we hear a band, a marching band, and we all go outside, and there is a huge marching band serenading us, escorts us all through the city of Zell. We're just kind of following along behind them into the local wine tavern. They had a wine queen. They sat and played for us all evening. We had wonderful wine, amazing food. Seriously, craziest thing. We were dancing, laughing, singing. It was and they only do this for AmaWaterways. There's a lot more to this Zell Wine Festival, but I had to tell you because this has become one of my favorite itineraries because of all the different experiences that you get and all the different wine regions. Cool. It's extraordinary.
Nice. Speaking of extraordinary, we've all heard of champagne, and only from champagne can true champagne come. So we're always looking to tweak itineraries, not only on the river in terms of ports of call, that's obvious, but we're also always looking for ways we can tweak pre and post cruise opportunities. So what we are doing in this regard is some of the cruises that begin or end in Luxembourg, right? These itineraries here listed here. Anyway, you're going to have an opportunity to do a couple of nights in Reims, in the Champagne region of France, right? And opportunities to visit some very famous champagneries like Veuve Clicquot. I do believe Dom Perignon may be on the list. I'm not 100% sure on that, but the bottom line is this is a new opportunity, and so certainly one that I wanted to mention because it's quite unique and interesting, and certainly worth knowing about. And then as we move over to another river that is equally as iconic as the Danube, and that is obviously the wonderful Rhine River. And a typical Rhine River cruise is from Basel, Switzerland up to Amsterdam in the Netherlands, or the reverse, and going through beautiful the Alsace region, which we'll talk about here. So we'll do a little bit more about that. And I will now let Liz mention here, this is really fascinating, what the Gutenberg Bible and wine have in common. And let's take it away.
I love this. I found out about this because I was on Europe's Rivers and Castles, because you get to go to the city of Main. And this is extraordinary. It's the printing press. Gutenberg actually got his inspiration directly from a wine press. So if you look at the left, the picture on the left is a very ancient wine press. In fact, I believe that's the one that is in the museum, the Gutenberg Museum. And on the right is the printing press. They're almost exactly the same. I just found that amazing.
That is amazing. All right, love that trivia. Now, you might say, what is a picture of Bellagio, Italy doing in this particular presentation? Well, again, hearkening back to what I said earlier in terms of our looking to tweak pre and post opportunities. So next year on a new itinerary, we're going to offer, that's along the Rhine, but the new offer is to do a 3-night stay, pre-cruise or post-cruise, depending on where you begin or end, in Lake Como, right? Staying at the incredibly beautiful Hilton Hotel in Lake Como, right on the lake. And you do have an opportunity to take a cool boat ride up to Bellagio. But Liz will tell you then this presents another opportunity to do what?
Well, we always have people saying, I want to go on a wine cruise through Italy. And sadly, the rivers are not navigable for river cruising. But now, if you do one of these itineraries, you can actually go into Italy and drink Italian wines for 3 days. Okay, that just sounds like a blast.
There you
So
go.
great opportunity.
You bet. Thank you for that, Liz. All right. So back to Strasbourg, and I'll let Liz tell us more about
I
this
just love
area.
this city. Yeah, this is on Captivating and Enchanting Rhine. One of the most picturesque cities in the world, I believe. On a wine cruise, you will be tasting, our wine host, our winery person will come on board and bring some wonderful Alsatian wines, which it's so interesting because this is France, but the wines are a little bit more like German wines and Austrian wines because of where this is located. So you're going to get to try all these wonderful wines. And ladies, I have to tell you, this is one of my favorite cities to shop in. They have some of the most gorgeous shops. Just wandering around, the food, everything is outstanding.
All right. A new itinerary that we are introducing next year, because we've always done the Rhone, we've always been here, but this itinerary, as they say, new for next year, incorporates Burgundy as well, right? So you're taking in the Saône region here. And here from Dijon all the way down to Lyon, this section of France, the French themselves call it the gastronomic valley of France. So if the French are calling it that, then rest assured from a culinary standpoint, but certainly from a history standpoint as well, this is quite a unique and interesting itinerary. And actually, Liz had a little bit to do with our incorporating this new itinerary because you were always planting a bug in Rudy's ear, right?
I really have. I mean, I don't know if he would say that, I'm responsible, but I used to really bug him. I'm like, why don't we go into Burgundy? That is wine. And it's small family-owned vineyards. And the terroir changes within yards of each other. So you'll have like gravel, and then you'll have limestone, and then you'll have, I mean, it's extraordinary the way it affects the different varietals, the different way that they process the wines. Some of the most amazing wines in the world. And honestly, I personally cannot wait. I am so ready.
Me too. And another little bit of trivia, this happens to be in the Burgundy area in Beaune. And what some medical, or medieval, I should say, medieval hospitals and wine have in common in Europe. Liz, take it away.
This is such a fun thing, and I probably should have mentioned it in Strasbourg because there's one in Strasbourg as well. But many of these medieval hospitals, they believed that for centuries, that wine is a very important part of wellness. Now, Christine always adds that, well, sometimes the wine was safer to drink than the water, but also it was part of a wellness regime. And this particular, the Hospice de Beaune, which is in Beaune, they took care of the villages around here during the many plagues that would hit over the centuries. And as a thank you, these vineyards would actually gift their produce and their wines to the hospice. So that's how this became such an iconic place, and the architecture is gorgeous. And we also have one in Würzburg on Europe's Rivers and Castles, Julia Spital. It is also a medieval hospital that has an amazing wine cellar and has for centuries. I wish we had them here in the States, but let's all go to Europe and enjoy that.
Wine, please. Right. Lyon is the gastronomic capital, of course, of France, and you'll have time to spend here in Lyon. Also, I will say, because I hit a home run with my wife, because there's beautiful silk scarves here in Lyon. So, gentlemen, if you want to keep that in mind, you can also do a little shopping for a beautiful, beautiful silk scarf in Lyon. We're also, as I mentioned earlier, in Provence, also sort of Mecca as it relates to wine. A beautiful itinerary that we do there. And this is strictly Provence, from Lyon down to Avignon, or the reverse. And then you can see here some of the terroir in Tournon. And I think there's a unique shore excursion that Liz likes to mention here.
Well, I'll tell you real quickly. This is in Tournon, which is in the Hermitage region of France on the Rhone. And our ship actually docks right there. You walk into a castle, into the ballroom. You are greeted by a sommelier, a high-level sommelier, who takes you through tastings of these lovely red wines from the region. And in addition to that, there is a master chocolatier who has created amazing little bites that are perfectly paired with these extraordinary red wines. And the master chocolatier is there explaining this, along with the high-level sommelier, and you're in a castle. Hello. I mean, seriously, I kept looking around going, okay, I should pinch myself, but I have too much wine I need to drink.
Yeah, all right, like that one. Now we move over to another part of France, Bordeaux. And the itinerary that is, again, 7 nights. And by the way, you can see on the map there, you have an opportunity to do a couple nights in the Basque region, 2 nights in Bilbao and 2 nights in San Sebastian, which is kind of cool before you head on up to do Bordeaux. And this is the itinerary. And of course, once again, incredibly iconic wine opportunities here, Saint-Emilion, La Fontaine. And these, you can see here on the map, that the ports of call are relatively close by, which is nice from a standpoint of not having to say get up as early as you might on some of the other itineraries, since things are so close by. And I know Liz likes to also talk about this, you say it best, Chateau de Roqueteillade.
Your French is getting really good. Your pronunciation, Roqueteillade. There are so many castles in Europe, and they're all beautiful. This one is the quirkiest, should I say funkiest castle I've ever been to in my life. And your guide will probably be somebody very special. But this is almost like, for me, I describe it as almost going into a medieval fun house, because what you see is not always, or perceive is not always what it is. I think the gentleman that designed this was way ahead of his time. So you will go in and you'll see something that looks like a door and it ends up being a drawbridge or something like that. It's really quite wonderful.
Cool. I had to throw this picture in because, you know, the French and their aesthetic points of view, but this is a La Cite du Vin, I think is how you say that, but it's obviously quite beautiful wine store that you have an opportunity to visit. Just to go in there and take a picture like that would be certainly compelling, I think, and then bring some wine back to the ship, as Liz mentioned. No corkage fees whatsoever. Now, we're going to move into some of the offers. Thank you, Liz, for all your color commentary. Greatly appreciate it. So, yes, you can tell Liz has the passion for the wine world, and that's why she's certainly so good at what she does. So thank you, Liz. And speaking of being good at what she does, Lori, in the same vein with representing all the various travel products out there and being a professional in that regard, and also being a part here of Cruise Planners, they do have an amenity program where we offer complimentary prepaid gratuities on select cruises next year. So I want you to be aware of that. This is sort of the piece de resistance, to use the French terminology here, for webinar attendees only. And that is, we are offering just for webinar attendees, or if you've watched the video post-webinar, which some of you hopefully will share with your friends and family, we're offering 2 for 1 on these departures next summer. This is incredibly rare. Buy one, get one, right? We don't do this, but because we were early adopters of doing webinars, they've evolved, and the iteration now, as it were, is that over the last couple of months, when we do webinars, we offer webinar attendee only specials. So these are cruises, again, you can see 5 of them. Lori has the information, some in July, some in August, or 1 in August. And this is if you book by the end of the month, the end of December, which starts tomorrow. Now, if you are not going to book one of the 2-for-1s, we'll also then offer on another departure, whether it's 21 or 22, even on one of Lori's departures in 22, an extra 100 per person discount. Good, again, if you book by the end of December. There are some caveats. There is a promo code, but the bottom line is this is an amazing opportunity. And summertime, that's frankly, ladies and gentlemen, where we are seeing the preponderance of bookings for next year tend to be from June on. I think people are thinking from a vaccine standpoint, et cetera, things should be looking pretty good by then. So this is a really stupendous opportunity to take advantage of. There's also a fly free program. Now, I will say right off the bat, they don't combine. You can't get a fly free with a 2-for-1. That's a little too rich, but there are wonderful fly free opportunities as well. And again, that's also booking by the end of December. And again, Lori is the key person for you to be in touch as it relates to this. Since we just had Veterans Day a few weeks back, we do offer an additional military savings of $100 per person for past military or current for that matter. Again, just let Lori know, and that can be applied to your booking. So indeed, this was taken on the Ama Christina this past 4.5 months when our crew was operating as the only North American brand operating in the rivers or on the rivers of Europe on the Rhine. And so indeed, we very much look forward to welcoming you on board down the road, whenever that might be, but it's hopefully going to be sooner than later. So thank you so much for attending today. And now is the opportunity. I'll take a look at some of the questions. If there are any questions, let me pull up to see. None, but that's okay. So this is your chance if you have any questions. I know we've been very thorough, understandably, but if you would like to pose a question or two, I'll take a bit of time here to wait for that. And in the meantime, Lori, did you want to add any parting comments?
Well, I just have to say that I have sailed, let's see, I've gone on 5 river cruises, the Rhine twice, the Danube twice, and Bordeaux. And next year I'll be sailing the Magical Christmas Markets. I'm hosting a group in December next year, but I'm really excited about the essence of Burgundy and Provence that I'll be hosting a group in April of 2022. Just because just Lyon and the food, and then Dijon, and with a pre or post in Switzerland, it just the itinerary is just amazing. So I'm really excited. Liz, thank you so much for adding that itinerary and convincing them to do that. Very excited about that. But I have to say, the one that really surprised me tonight was the Moselle. I was not expecting to be so excited. I mean, I've always wanted to sail that region, but oh my gosh, after seeing tonight, yeah, okay, I'm ready to sign up. So I may have to add another group on that one.
Yes.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal. Well, thank you, Lori. Thank you. And yes, Lori, as I mentioned earlier on, we're going to have another webinar that'll be dedicated to the Christmas markets. That's December 10th. You'll get your invitation. Invite friends. As we're here in the Christmas season, we've got our tree up now, and this is the season of thinking of hope in the future. And let's face it, we all want something to look forward to and put on our calendar as it relates to travel. So since we're, I think, going to be, for the most part, hunkered down at Christmas time, we can now be thinking about next Christmas. And so Lori and I will do another webinar coming up about that. And then Lori, you and I will have to set up another webinar to talk about 22 and the essence of Burgundy and Provence on that one. So cool. All right. Well, then I guess at this point, let me just look. Okay. So we've been very thorough in our descriptions and whatnot. So, but any post webinar questions you can direct towards Lori. I'm willing to bet my house will have the answer, but if she doesn't, she'll come to us and we'll get that answer for you. So then I will wrap it up by just saying again, thank you for coming out this evening and spending some time with us in our little bit of armchair travel that we're doing these days, and looking forward to the time when we can get back out there again. We're very appreciative of your interest, and we'll say bon voyage, merci. Thank you so much, and auf Wiedersehen. All right, thank you, Liz. Thank you, Lori.
See you on
Cheers.
board.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.